What's going on, guys? RagingRaptor here, and today we are going to have a look at the M48A2 Raumpanzer, or basically it's just a tank, or Räumpanzer means basically just to push something away, to get rid of something, basically. Something in that kind of sense. But yeah, this is a tier 8 medium tank of the German tech tree. I don't really want to say premium yet because I'm not entirely sure if Wargaming really wants to make it a premium because it's not stated yet properly. But yeah, you can see it is an M48 pattern with this big old excavator thingy in the front. I actually also don't know the name for that. Excavator spoon, I don't know. And this tank, I think it looks pretty cool from the just how it is modeled, and I have to say big thumbs up to Wargaming for doing such a good job in that kind of sense. You can see how a lot of the rust is on there on the shovel. You can see that there are some rusty parts. You can even see that the tank has a license plate, which is pretty cool. By the way, Wargaming, when you are already introducing license plate, wouldn't be cool to be able to do this one right there to customize? That would be freaking awesome, I think. But that's beside the point. So there aren't any rumors about this tank or what is going to happen to this tank, like it is with the E75TS, which I looked at previously, and the TL1 LPC, which I'm going to look at after this tank. So we don't really know what this tank is, but I think when I have to do a comparison to an existing tank, I'd say this is basically a Super Pershing. And just without special matchmaking, obviously, because special matchmaking doesn't exist anymore for new tanks. But now, without further ado, let's just straight jump into the game, or rather the stats of the tank, and I'm just going to get my tank of choice, the Super Pershing, out to do some tank stats comparison. Again, it is very important to note, it's standing right here, the characteristics are subject to change. There can be changes to those tank characteristics. But with that out of the way, let's have a look. 1450 hit points is already worse than what the T26E4 has, but it's 50 HP, it's not that big of a deal. The whole armor, however, looks pretty darn decent. 152 millimeters with 76 on the side and 25 on the back. And yes, guys, we can more or less take one by one the M48A5 hull for that comparison, because it is an M48 pattern hull. And then you will also see that the problem is not really the upper front plate, which can here and there bounce some stuff, maybe also sometimes not. The problem is the huge lower plate, and I think this is why this big old shovel right here is there to counteract against this, well, very annoying feature called lower plate armor. Another interesting part is that it has 254 listed damage on this paper right here, which is equal to what we have right here with 254, 76.2 and 50.8. Meaning it is reasonable to say that it will be the exactly same turret as the M48A5, except it will most likely have the bigger cupola. And with the bigger cupola, well, it could be the M60 turret, and no, not really. Let's have a look. The T95E6, if I'm not mistaken, has this kind of tumor, if you want to call it like this. Excuse me, E6, E2, obviously. And I think that we will have a mixture of this weak cupola, 76 millimeters thick, with this kind of armor, except for the cupola. Because, again, here we have 254 millimeters of armor, while when we have a look at the armor of the T25E2, or the armor explained on this paper sheet right here, it's 177.8 millimeters thick frontally. So yeah, it will be a pretty decently armored tank, but the problem is, again, the really big cupola, which can be a real deal breaker. Other than that, the side armor 76 millimeters is not too thick, so you have to watch out for that. Which is basically the same what the Super Pershing has to do. And you also have to note that your backside armor is vulnerable to 155 millimeter gun calibers, because they can overmatch this plate right here. 152 are not able to, 155 are. So T30 T110E4 and E3, Foch 155, and everything else above those calibers. So right now it looks pretty interesting. So how is the mobility going to hold up to this additional armor with the shovel? 650 horsepower is pretty decent, and it's comparable to what we have on the Super Pershing, especially when we have a look at the power to weight ratio, which is 13 against the 12.07. And as previously mentioned, I think that 1 HP per ton ratio difference is not too big of a deal. And it might be interesting to see, where is the tank? I want to see the first prototype. I guess much better power to weight ratio, never mind. How this tank will perform when it comes to terrain resistances, because generally the Super Pershing doesn't really have good terrain resistances, because obviously it has a decent chunk of armor slapped onto it and on a suspension which is not really made for that, balancing wise. We might even see something like the M48 Patents HP terrain resistance. My biggest guess would be it will be a mix in between those ones right here with 0.77, 0.86 and 1.7 with those which we have here. So maybe it will be 0.89 or something. So that is my guess when it comes to that. The suspension traverse speed is 35 degrees per second, which is 2 degrees faster than what the Super Pershing has. And the turret traverse is 30 degrees per second, which is another 5 degrees faster than the Super Pershing. However, even though you have a stupid big cupola, you only have 380 meters of view range compared to the 390 of the Super Pershing. I'm just wanting to have a look which tank exactly has 380 meters view range as well, so I can show you what is. I think it's the Lansen C, yeah, exactly. So usually we're most likely going to play this tank with coded optics, with Brothers in Arms, with Recon, and with Situational Awareness, and you will get roughly to 448 meters of view range. Why I'm not using Vents, quite simple or quite easy to explain. I usually tend to now take vertical stabilizer than Vents, because sometimes snapshotting is just, you have 25% better accuracy during snapshots. And I rather take this than 5%. Was it 25 or was it 20? Yeah, than just 5% overall stats. Another important thing is, if I'm not mistaken, well, I am mistaken because they didn't post it here. Just have to quickly change the subforum, because in the German forums, the people were kind enough to tell us what exactly this tank will have from crew layout. And big thanks to, I think it was Subfan, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, there we go. It has a commander, a driver, a gunner, and a loader, which is also the radio operator apparently. And this is actually pretty bad, it's actually pretty perfect crew layout when it would be an American medium tank. It isn't, however, it is a German medium tank. So there we have a little bit of a problem, or a little bit of a pickle, because neither E50 has a loader with radio operator, nor the Leopard 1 has a loader with radio operator. Those duties fall onto our commander. So for, when it comes to selling this tank as a tank, for training crews, this will be a big downside, because you have to basically either say, yeah, I'm going to not use any radio operator skills on my commander, although they are, when it comes, like the only radio operator skill which is good is the view range skill, and the view range skill from the radio operator is, I think, 1% better than the view range skill of the commander. So you have a little bit of a problem right there in my personal point of view. Anyway, let's move on. And now it is mobility 40 kph forwards, 18 backwards, exactly the same as what the Super Pershing has. Now, gun, 205 millimeters of penetration, 255 with gold APCRs, is the same as what the Super Pershing has. Just please keep in mind this tank can see tier 10 tanks, so that's a big of a problem. 240 alpha, nothing spectacular. The problem, however, is the 0.44 accuracy, and this is like a big old punch into the gut. Like, this is IS-6 levels of inaccuracy. This is gotta hurt. Like, this will hurt this tank's performance very, 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 very hard. Yes, it has 2 seconds reload time, aim time, excuse me, but still, when it is ridiculous inaccurate, it won't be fun to play. So, not very well done, Wargaming. Again, it can change. Maybe they have a special idea with this tank. We do not know if the shovel will have a mechanic which you can lower it or increase the height of it. I don't know. But yeah, the problem, which is also right now there, is it's very, very bad reload time. 8.7 seconds, it's basically 1 second slower than what the Super Pershing has. We can calculate the DPM now with this. And we have a DPM of 1655. And if I'm not mistaken, this is probably one of the worst DPMs on tier 8 mediums when we are not looking at tanks with autoloaders. And again, this is pretty bad. This is not good. This will not make this tank fun to play. To give you a little bit of example, the upcoming Czechoslovakian premium medium tank has roughly the same DPM, just it has a 3-shot autoloader. Yeah, and a lot better mobility. That's not good. That's not really not good. Even it has 9 degrees of gun depression, 19 degrees of gun elevation, which are great, which are online or in line with what the M48 pattern has. But overall, I love the looks of this tank. I love it. But the gun stats just make this tank appalling to play, like very, very bad. Again, I know there can be changes and probably the armor will be really, really strong except for the cupola. But paying so hard for this good turret and improved lower plate armor, it's a lot. It's a lot. Especially this tank will be great as a top tier tank, but against lower tiers, yeah, when you're low tier, you are basically screwed over. And to just keep in mind, the improved armor of the Super Pershing gives it, well, 170 to 160 millimeters of 150 millimeters of effective armor on the cupola, while most likely the M48A2 Raumpanzers will be around 76 millimeters, which is way less. I don't dislike this. I'm all for weak spots and so on. And this is a weak spot which you can easily hit, not something like the Super Conqueror. But it pays a lot for this weak spot, and it has to pay an additional with its really bad accuracy and really bad reload time. So yeah, what do you think about the M48A2 Raumpanzer? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel, please consider to subscribe for your, well, not daily dose of skill. There's a skill for LTU for you. But your, not really daily dose, but your previews and reviews and gameplay analysis. RagingRaptor here. And if you liked the video, feel free to thumbs it up. If you didn't like it, feel free to thumbs it down and give me some feedback so I can improve on myself. And I'll talk to you all later in a different video. Goodbye, and this will be the TL1 LPC most likely. GG.